teachers, my name is Anansh Prasad and I am the author of the Empowering GK with Global Jigyasa book series, and I am very happy to now be moving on to the 6th chapter of this book, the second chapter that forms a part of the Incredible India section, and this chapter is called Denotified Tribes of India. This chapter is actually touching upon an issue within our Incredible India which needs to be addressed by us, and it's related to all of these tribes which are now considered denotified tribes. They were mistreated during the times of the British when they were categorized as criminal tribes under the Criminal Tribes Act of 1871, and after independence they became denotified tribes, tribes that are prone to committing crimes, they're habitual offenders of sorts. So this is really a chapter which enlightens children about this entire concept of denotified tribes, and the entire structure that this particular chapter follows is very simple. It's actually passage based, it's reading comprehension based. This is actually a very powerful mode. You'll see a few more chapters in this particular book where I have used a passage, a story based passage with basic information related to a particular GK concept. In this case, it's Denotified Tribes of India. You must read the passage aloud to the students a couple of times, and then there are questions related to this particular passage which can be seen here. There are different questions related to this passage. They are application of the information. So it's GK learning by reading the passage and then application of that information through different questions which are directly or indirectly related to this particular chapter, this particular topic, which children have to answer. So it's literally a language integrated activity. It's really a comprehension with questioning taking place in multiple different forms as well. So this is the entire aspect of language integration that I've tried to incorporate across different aspects of the book. But more importantly, this passage based learning for concepts which children don't know about and which are slightly more detailed is a great way. And even with topics that we might consider slightly more complex for children than their age, this works very well. Of course, at a grade 8 level, I don't believe any topic as such is very complex for children to know about from a GK perspective. This chapter is about denotified tribes of India. A particular topic area that I have worked with at a social level. I work on helping denotified tribes at a social level as well. I really feel that they have been wronged by, of course, the British for sure, but our society also needs to do things to really address their serious concerns and allow them to be treated as equal citizens. I asked children, the objective is really to spread awareness about denotified tribes and think about what can be done to give them an equal citizen status. What do we need to do to uplift them, to empower them, and give them a life of dignity, a life where they don't have to struggle to find work. What is it that we need to do? So I asked children to start off with whether they understand what are denotified tribes, and if yes, to share a little bit about them. So most children don't know about denotified tribes. Ask them what they know about tribes of India. Ask them to share a little bit of information. Ask them what they know about the problems of tribes of India. People who are tribals, what are the different issues they're facing? Deforestation, loss of land, many of them are exploited. So allow the children to have a discussion about this and say that, yes, tribes of India are suffering serious issues, but if you think that, tribes of India had issues, you need to think of the issues of denotified tribes. They are double of the issues of tribes. So they are literally, among the lowest rungs of Indian society and are really struggling. So then I lead this into this entire passage, which has multiple different paragraphs. I read this passage out to them, taking pauses where relevant. For example, committing a crime is a bad thing, isn't it? But what if I told you that you have committed a crime by being born into a particular community? How would you feel? So I really stop here and ask them, how would you feel that, if you were told that you were born in this particular community, so it's a crime there only. And how would you correct such a crime? So, that becomes a really nice topic of discussion before we go into denotified tribes. Just being born into a certain community, if you're categorized as a habitual offender, how would you like? So, and from there, there are different paragraphs which talk about different aspects of denotified tribes, how Criminal Tribes Act of 1871 designated them as criminal tribes by nature only. and many of them were actually fighting against the British. They belonged to different forest areas that the British were wanting to capture. They wanted to clear out forests, so they called them criminal tribes, because by nature these tribes were those who lived in forests. So they used to hunt for animals. Often they used to hunt for large wild animals, but that was a part of their food system. They literally were forest dwellers. Okay, and they had their own way of life. They weren't poaching, and they weren't cutting heads of lions and putting them up in their houses. They were eating them. That was a part of their thing. Some of them used to hunt for animals. Others used to have other forms of farming. They wanted to clear out forests. Some of these tribals were fighting against the British during the freedom struggle. So they categorized all of them as criminal tribes, and they did not have any human rights. They used to be jailed by virtue of being a member of a particular tribe. Post independence, this act was repealed, and they were called denotified tribes. Where they were classified as habitual offenders, those who commit petty or basic crimes. So now the thing is that whenever there is a crime, they are the first suspects, and often they are framed by police stations as well, just to end a particular case. They put a crime on them, they are forced to sign, and they really don't have rights. They don't know how to fight for their rights. They're very poor. They're not allowed into different villages, and while steps are being taken, there's a lot of work that needs to be done to protect their legal status. Okay, their children don't receive education, so now they're literally being pushed into crime. You're not even supporting them, and they don't have anything for themselves. So what are they supposed to do? So we need to take serious efforts to make them equal citizens. So each paragraph kind of tells them the story, and often when I read this story out, children are genuinely very concerned. They can't believe it. Actually, I tell them to go home and read. I tell them to go and Google search. This is how GK goes beyond the classroom as well. I tell them to go and research about denotified tribes a little bit more. They learn a lot more through this process as well beyond the session. I tell them to come back and tell me names of certain denotified tribes or more facts that they have learned, and tell them that every state of India has a few denotified tribes, which is very, very unfortunate. Okay, and after this, after having a discussion, I ask them how do they feel about it and what do you think can be done. So children share their views, we appreciate them, and then I move into this reference to context, the questions for the comprehension. There are different forms of questions. Some are language integrated, some are related to tribes of India. One is question the answer, where they have to make a question that gives the answer as criminal tribes of India. So many approaches to questioning in one single set of 7 questions, which introduce children to different facets of questions and how to approach them. So I do this, I will give the children some time to actually answer these questions, and after they have answered these questions, I have a discussion about them, which leads to a much larger discussion about denotified tribes, especially question 7, which is what are some steps that can be taken by us as a society to uplift the situation of tribal people in India. So that's where children share some more views as well. So it becomes a great discussion about one section of India, incredible India, that needs to be addressed, and these questions also expose them to a lot more discussions on about tribes in India as a whole too. So please give the children some time for discussions and developing educated opinions. Leave them with some open-ended questions to research on, which you can circle back to in the next session. And I'm sure this will be a great session for enlightenment of students about the rights of all sets of people in India, especially those who are denotified. A lot more information has also been shared about each of these in the teachers notes section. Many different denotified tribes have been talked about here. Examples of crimes against denotified tribes have also been talked about here. You can access this by going to the teachers notes section at the end of the book, where there is a QR code and link in the message for all teachers section, which leads to the teachers notes, and all of these notes will really help you enhance the session and learn a lot more about denotified tribes to share with the children beyond this particular passage. So I hope you use this, and I hope children are enlightened at the end of this session. Thank you so much.